Okay, wonder if we're all gathering together. Guessing. Okay, well, let's begin with some salutations to the Triple Gem and with some meditation. Can't go wrong with that. Supatipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho sanghang namāmi. Namayam buddhasa bhagavato apupapaka namakaram. Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Meditation. So often when we talk about meditation, we assume there's a certain start. We sit down and get quiet or find our place to be or something or the other. And then, practice with mindfulness. And that's reasonable. But actually it begins before that, doesn't it? I mean, you must have had something that makes you think this is going to be good for you. Which is like sitting down is going to make you feel better, like sitting down, watching your mind is going to make you feel better. Where did that idea come from? It's called faith. Faith means there's some sense of there could be something better, or more advantageous or wiser or clearer, or I need to do something, and there's a certain sense, this is what I need to do. In here somehow there's something, I can do or be or witness or experience just by sitting here. That's a profound, profound state of mind called saddha, faith, a sense of something worthwhile here. And your faith, which is fundamental to human life. If we don't have any faith, that somehow our lives can, present something meaningful, worthwhile, happy, pleasant, agreeable, what's the point of being here? This is suicidal, depression, if you lose faith. Faith in could be in yourself, faith in democracy, faith in God, faith in, something, something that one can attune to that's got a rising meaning to it. So there's meaningfulness in your life. Without it, why bother? So at this point, those of you who've switched on to this have that sense that there is faith in practice of Dhamma, and probably most specifically, you sense there's something to be benefit derived from just coming to the present moment through all the circumstantial clutter and clatter and unfinished business, which is always unfinished, never gets finished. You just don't try and change that. Don't try and get involved with that. For now, just don't try and change any of that. Just find a different position, different relationship to that, to the world of circumstance, which is eddying around you, which you sometimes feel yourself almost being spun around in and overwhelmed with emotionally and stressed out with. Don't fight that, but there is a place where we find presence to be able to witness, notice, be aware of that, and there is an awareness of that which is not in that, nor is it rejecting it. It's a certain fundamental property of the human mind, heart, chitta, knowingness, awareness, and we faith to trust that, to actually place one's trust in that, and to linger in that, to not just a flicker of faith, but a real giving for some time, and to be with the uncomfortable and the unresolved. Yes. And instead of reacting to it, just holding one's presence and how strengthening that is. And certain dignity arises because now we're not scrabbling for results or feeling useless because we're having a bad deal today. We stand apart from that. This faith returns one again and again to this timeless point, a timeless axis. Let's spend some time just cultivating that, and also cultivating the increasing buoyancy of the heart, which faith provides, as you verify that just doing this much is already a major step. Don't do too much. Don't do too much. Often we err by doing too much, trying to make things clearer or more purer than they are now. The faith element, what you can right now feel a sense of uplift with, slow, steadying, and refrain from filling in the gaps, tidying things up. And from there, letting your awareness settle, you're building up it begins to build up a certain quality we'll call presence, or sat, presence, an energetic firmness. Is faith the leader of the Indriya, the authorities, 5 authorities, energy, as faith gives us energy, as it returns our energy back to the center, turns energy back to the center where it can collect rather than being thrown out. Mindfulness encouraging to linger, bear this in mind, stay steady with that. The quality of unification, samadhi, comes in. A sense of a real firmness of presence beginning to build up. Embodiment. The degree to which that is present, growing, greater the ability to witness a wide range of experiences as conditions passing, changing. One's presence becomes firm. Thought, mood, emotion, feeling, stories, shifts, changing, and one's presence is not lost in that. This is how these indriya work. So beginning, initiation in faith, consummation is wisdom, which means as we maintain a sense of detachment or disengagement, there are circumstances that are moving in our hearts and minds at any given moment. Let's begin to study what really binds in all this, what binds me to these circumstances. insecurity, fear, wanting certainty, loss of comfort, loneliness. And any of this something one could relax, the search for security, comfort, or even the rightness. See what seems possible.
Brahma Chaloka Dipati Sahampati Katanjali Anadiwara Maya Chata Santida Sada Paraja Kajatika Desetu Ramam Nanukam Bimam Padam.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So reflecting on our new Dhamma practice and on the teachings of the Buddha, and we have these terms: unconditioned and conditioned. Unconditioned, asankata; conditioned, asankata. And the general theme is that the aim is that the condition is always going to be either unsatisfactory, changeable, and your main aim is to realize or to arrive at, or the unconditioned. And this is not a bad way of looking at it, but it can, like any other expression, it can have its negative or implications that the condition is not worth bothering with. It doesn't really matter, which isn't what the Buddha meant. He put a lot of attention into the conditioned. The path is conditioned. Sangha, monastic Sangha is conditioned. The lay assembly is conditioned. He put most of his effort into sustaining conditions that would by themselves lead on to those who put the energy into the conditioned. And saying the results are also experienced in the conditioned realm. You say, well, not everybody's going to realize complete nibbana and freedom, but this will make you happier. This is for your long-lasting welfare and happiness. These are not kind of cosmic. These are fairly earthy realizations. This is just going to make you feel better, make life a bit more manageable. It will mean you have it's serene. You're not so crushed by circumstances. You feel steady in yourself. You feel more reliable. You have good friends. These are not small things. And so often he would just be teaching this, the correct way to do business, so that you do your business in a way which is gives you maximum contentment, and you don't get greedy with it or obsessed with it. How to live together, the whole process of vinaya, which I was talking about the other week, training oneself to live a skillful life, which is often, if we look at the monastic examples of vinaya, it's about relationship with others, it's about meagerness of needs, what you need. It's about really training in it, looking at that, and being content with what one has, and making honesty the dominant theme in one's practice. Sincerity and integrity and respect, dominant themes. Because this will make us all feel better, and it'll make our relationships much more skillful. And we have to live with this in this conditioned life. So let's make it as good as possible. So condition is important, not just as a path, also as a fruit. And so he recommended to the monks, look, make sure you get enough food every day. I don't recommend fasting or straining the body. There's some medicines. I allow these medicines to you. You can have robes. You can, keep yourselves decent condition. That's all. We're not trying to. So it's considered a path of pleasure. I teach pleasure, and he was looked down upon by the other recluses as being kind of a bit soft, because so it had to have the results in the conditioned as well as the unconditioned. And even the realization of the unconditioned is supportive to conditioned life. Right? So it's the conditioned leads the unconditioned, and the unconditioned supports the conditioned. Now, what do these terms really mean? Unconditioned, that which is open, the mind that's not in anything. There's something in our minds that isn't in anything, it's just there. We don't really notice it too much, because naturally the stuff that impacts us gets the maximum attention. We don't notice the fact that we can notice we're being impacted, or the impacts change and shift. So what's always here? There's something fundamentally open and untouched about mind. Now, you may disagree with that, but just consider over the long run the amount of times you had breakdowns and tragedies, and oh no, I can't stand it another minute, and then here you are. If you've fallen off your bike or got sick and you just want to die and it's miserable, and then come out of it, and things change, don't they? And so there's this fundamental kind of openness that naturally, like the sky, the clouds do swim across it, but there's a fundamental openness that remains there. Yeah? And we have to keep training to notice that. You notice that through the fact that conditions change. This is one of the fundamental teachings, isn't it? Now, that doesn't make them any more pleasant or unpleasant, but it does mean they have slightly less power to obsess or crush. So this fundamental openness, we can say also that this openness also means that there's an unknownness, which is slightly less comfortable. The fact that we never really entirely know. We think we've got it sorted out, but actually there's bits we never really know. There's a certain mystery, an unknowingness. Like, who am I? Where did I come from? What's this all about? What's the nature of reality? Yeah? And you can't get around it because it's bigger than you, bigger than your mind's ability to form concepts. So it's not conditioned. It can't be captured in the conditions of the thinking mind. And even it's not fair, it's not unfair, it's beyond that. It's not right and it's not wrong. It's just open. It's unconstructed. There's nothing being established, constructed within that. It doesn't do anything. A lot of our lives are doing things. A lot of our minds are doing things. And yet there's something that doesn't do anything, which sounds kind of ineffectual, like openness does. But actually, it's a salvation, because this is a place we can return to because we begin to recognize that all our knowing and our knowledge and all our ability to create plans and ideas and structures never actually arrive at a final fruition, stasis, satisfaction, completeness. Yeah? It's been going on like this since time immemorial. Human beings have been trying to make things work and they feel they're getting there, and then no, something breaks down, it changes, doesn't quite make it, somebody disagrees, you try to create the perfect structures for society. We all see they've got great ideas, democracy, communism's out of favor these days, but as an idea, like everybody shares, we all share, that sounds like a very nice idea. Even, of course, it all got corrupted. Democracy, everybody gets to vote, but of course, it's a great idea too, but we can see how that does depend on everybody being sensible, which is always the case. If you've got people who are deluded, the majority, you don't necessarily arrive in, just because it's democratic doesn't mean it's going to do you any good. So, but I'm not knocking it, I think it's a good idea, it's a good aspiration. It sounds great, everybody's choice. It does depend on people being wise, doesn't it? Not making the wrong choice. And then, of course, you can have gods and whatever cosmology one has, and then God's always seems to have most gods seem to have some rather dubious aspects, like they tend to smite and judge and damn and destroy, as well as doing nice things. So the gods aren't always that absolutely on your side, And so whatever the human mind creates, it doesn't quite get it. And that's kind of frustrating, as long as you imagine that you should be able to get it. And just the kind of energy and the fervor, and sometimes the almost like a passion in one's belief in a conditioned reality. This is it. Not that it hasn't certain benefits, but we just say, well, look, the unconditioned is we'll just step back because this is just, it's dukkha. Doesn't mean it's necessarily utterly anguished. It means it's incomplete, not quite satisfying, or directly unsatisfactory. Yeah. And you can't assemble a complete, whole, unbroken, harmonious reality out of it. There's always something left out. Yeah. We do things for human beings, it tends to, you know, the rest, you know, animals generally get killed for our welfare. We, you know, or trees or plants, and we can see this sense of, you know, when human beings look for their own welfare, that sounds pretty good. Even if we get our own welfare, at what cost to the rest of creation? So this means we tend to step back a little bit from our ideologies, our beliefs, our convictions. Now this, when I do this, I realize a certain fundamental axis. Also, I'm able to be a little more flexible with my beliefs, ideas, aspirations, wishes, and so forth. And I keep not holding them too tight. Yeah? So then one can handle conditions in an appropriate way, skillfully. Uh, and this is, you know, it doesn't mean you don't, but you see the fundamental properties that we're often encouraged to look out for. You know, and there's whole clusters of these, the way described. The simplest way described is the worldly winds: praise, blame, gain and loss, happiness and unhappiness, renown and ignominy or neglect. Yeah. And so these are the ways in which we call the constructed world operates like this. So when we're getting into the gain, we're really getting it. Hey, I'm getting it, I'm getting it, yeah. Is it ever possible that gain doesn't turn into either somebody else has lost because of one's gain, or one's gain goes on so far and then it begins to wane? The praise that one had disappears. You don't get enough of it, or it disappears. And then blame comes in. Happiness comes up, and then any tendency for the happiness to even flatten off, so it's no longer rising. Well, okay, that's not so good, and then dip, unhappiness. So these winds of change and how they whirl around, because we don't want the displeasure, we don't want the unhappiness, we don't want the discomfort, we don't want the sense of loss, we don't want that sense of neglect, being nobody, or maybe we do. But whatever changes one goes through, the world goes through, including one's own part in it, the aim is to just, okay, that's just the way the season is now. We're in loss, losing it, being blamed, not getting things done very well, not succeeding. This too will change and remain unbowed by that. Now, this is where the unconditioned, this central axis that doesn't do anything, it stays open, helps to moderate the impact of the conditioned. Yeah, that is. And also to lighten one's hold upon it. So this means, particularly in a mutually shared world, it's much better if we hold our own position lightly, because you can be sure that your position is one of many other positions. If you hold your own too hard, you're going to find conflict with others. So if we hold our own position lightly, but quietly and clearly, there's a chance in which we can be able to negotiate and find a common ground Yeah, whereby these particular opinions and views no longer rise up to be fundamental and uh, overpowering. Very important in a shared world, and it is a shared world. You're conditioned. If you, it's not an easy word, is it? It's a very simple word, and yet it's kind of abstract. What do you meet? What touches you? What meets you? Is it your concern about your aging parents? Is it your concern about the government? Is it the weather, the climate? Is your finances, your health? Yeah, whether it's going up or going down. Your relationships with others, are they rocky? Are they stable? Are they steady? Are they satisfying? Are they, she doesn't really understand? I'm not getting through. Why don't people understand me? I don't quite get through. You know, it used to be good, but now we're in a rough patch. What's going wrong? You know, this kind of thing goes on, doesn't it? And what's gone wrong? Nothing's gone wrong, really. It's the nature of conditions. And just realizing that at any particular moment, what touches forms a kind of, it forms that which we meet. And in a way, we become sort of encircled by these conditions. And we look one way, and there's that, and there's that, and there's that. There's this in my mind. You know, so I'm sort of surrounded by my awareness, surrounded by these various circumstances, the prospects, the unfinished, the difficulties, the struggles, the hopes. I'm in the middle of all that, and something is running out to that, to try to put it in place and smooth it out and tidy it up and get that bit out of the way, and then maybe change that. And if only that wasn't, and you know, so it's running out to all that, running out to the conditioned in order to, you know, adjust it some or another, or hold it together as long as possible. And this running out, as it runs out, yeah, then our identity, our mind state is very much molded by that experience. I become agitated, I become discontented, I become domineering, I become pushy, I want more of this, I become grumpy, I'm not getting my share, I become miserable. Why don't people get what I'm talking about? I don't, why did I fail? I become disconsolate, I'm useless, I can't make things work, I'm a hopeless, inadequate person. Yeah. So this bounces back, right? It becomes our identity. And then what happens? Loss of faith. What's the point? Nothing's going to work, because the conditioned has, by this running out to it, the conditioned has mirrored those, and we become the image in that mirror, the inadequate person, the one who can't quite make it, the one who's never quite this, that, or the other, who people don't like or can't form a satisfying relationship with, da 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 da. That's who I am, and I'm stuck in that. Right. And then, so what happens? Now, well, loss of faith. The loss of faith in the in this openness, because I don't feel very open, and also I think, well, what's the point? Being open still doesn't make people like me, which is what I want. I like to be open and rich as well. I like to be open, rich, glamorous, and liked. How about that? Well, no, that isn't quite how it works. If you open and trust the openness to be something that you can find satisfaction, if you, this is what these indriyas tell you, if you have the openness and faith in that, and the energy settles in that, and then you know, it doesn't really matter so much about that, because you're feeling pretty good here. And if they don't get on so well with him, well, you can't always get on well with people. That's the way it goes. I mean, when you look at it, really, is there anyone who you could be completely in harmony with all day long and all night long forever? Has that ever happened? Never. That doesn't mean there's something wrong with people. It's just that we're all slightly misfits, aren't we? So we don't okay, we're just going through a rough patch, and we'll see how that settles. Yeah, that's how way he is, and okay, find my space with that. And so it's returning to that, and by leaving not running out into conditions, we don't form an identity with that, and we don't accelerate the stress that comes with that. So, if I'm getting created by conditions, then I become frantic. I'm planning all the time. I'm figuring out what I did wrong. I get regretful. I feel inadequate. And I'm getting stressed out. And much of what I'm getting stressed out about is just ideas, memories, impressions. Nobody's actually attacking me. I'm just feeling inadequate. I'm well fed. I've got a roof over my head. I'm feeling miserable because I haven't lived up to an idea. Well, most of it's created by one's own mind, isn't it? One's expectations, one's hopes, one's wishes, which are not bad, but to imagine you can have them, they could be unconditioned, they could be free from change, free from unsatisfactoriness, right? That your hopes, your ideas could be, and your wishes and your life could be free from unsatisfactoriness on the conditioned level. No, you've got to get that. You've really got to remember that. There's nothing going wrong. This is the nature of conditioned. There's such things as dying at the age of 25. That shouldn't happen. There's such things as getting run over by a truck. That shouldn't happen. There's such things as getting robbed. That shouldn't happen. Betrayed. That shouldn't happen. Lost. That shouldn't happen. Well, so this non-investment so essentially it's running out to conditions. And this is called asawa. Asawa, some outflow, means the mind runs out. It runs out on particular tracks, track of sensuality, track of becoming, and a track of ignorance, or not understanding. Let's take probably the most continual and deeply rooted that we can, well, ignorance obviously is. Ignorance is to keep imagining that the condition could be other than what it is. which is a pretty constant impressions. This is what causes the running out, right? To sort the conditioned out. Becoming is a sense of establishing identity around that, around condition. So what does this mean? It means that I have various ideas and possibilities, and my mind runs out to get those established so that in the future I will be settled, comfortable, satisfied, doing a good job, getting things done. That's what I want. And that runs out to the conditioned reality. And we work on that. And I think anybody who's got some wisdom will begin to notice, well, this is what I do. And with some practice, you realize, well, it's never going to be perfect, but I felt I put forth my effort in a way that I feel good about. But the results are never quite satisfactory. But so yeah, that's that. But because I'm not asking them to be that way, I can put energy into things. I can put energy into things without asking for a result. Results will happen, whether I ask them or not. If you put energy into things, certain results are going to come around, but you don't ask for them. That's the subtle point, because you're not establishing identity around success, praise, gain in any way at all. Even if your gain is fairly altruistic, like I like to make everybody happy. That's a nice altruistic aim. If you try to do that, you're certainly going to get people very annoyed with you. Because you start doing things that you think will make them happy. And they say, could you just, thank you very much. I'd like some space, please. Could you just leave me be, I don't understand. Why? Yeah. So this asava running out. And what do we run out to? We run out to conditioned. Now there's something else that occurs there, in that the very manifestation of conditioned is due to another underlying series of factors called anutsaya, which are called latent or dormant tendencies. They're underlying, they're not necessarily apparent, but these are the trends that mean that we notice certain pieces of data and we don't notice others, right? So we might not notice the fact that we're in health, because that's not giving me any. That's fine. I don't notice. I don't think, oh, fantastic, I don't have toothache. Yeah, but I do notice that there's the weather's bad or something or the other. So our what strikes us itself is by no means a true appraisal of reality. It's a very selected reality. Certain pieces that strike my mind. Yeah. And why do they strike my mind? Because my mind has tendencies to look for. Yeah. These are latent tendencies to look for that which irritates me. What a crazy thing. What a crazy thing. Have you noticed that? What's that? Oh, annoyed. Fly buzzing on the window. Well, just the fly buzzing on the window, but the fly's buzzing on the window. Something looks for the irritable. We have a tendency to ill will. We don't notice the piece of the window that fly isn't buzzing on, or the silence. We notice the pieces that noise us. And you can do this certainly with people. The mind can What's crazy? What's she wearing? That's disgusting. Oh, terrible thing. Yeah. What did he do that for? That's, we, things that annoy us, we have a tendency that seeks that which irritates us. And you can get good at it. And it's a kind of reflex. You don't decide to do it. You have a latent tendency called ill will. Yeah. And that constructs a reality for you. You notice things that annoy you, disappoint you, irritate you. You have a tendency for greed. You notice things that excite and stimulate. Yeah? And your mind is moored in that way. So these are, and there is a whole string of these latent tendencies. You have a latent tendency for becoming. That is, the mind seeks ways in which it can create an identity. It seeks, how can, in all this, I establish who I am? Yeah? So we have all kinds of assessments of ourselves. Goes on, for some people, almost incessantly. Self-assessment. Am I doing good? Am I this? What do people think of me? It's constant self-judgment. And sometimes, very rarely, is it ever agreeable. Yeah. This is the tendencies for becoming. And so something seeks a way in which we can know ourselves. I am one of these. I am like this, that, and the other. You know, so it does that. This is the latent tendency called becoming. And then it seeks things or data that are able to give me a clear, distinct impression of myself. And so often the landscape that we scan for that is called other people. So we scan, something scans other people and think, well, she doesn't like me and he's better than that. And I'm like this and he's like that. We're comparing ourselves with others. We're imagining what they feel about me. We concern ourselves what they're thinking about me. We assume in some fundamental way that everybody else is looking or thinking about me, right? When I walk into a room or people are talking about me, why should, that they think a lot of things about me, have all kinds of ideas about me. I'm not welcome here. People don't like me. I'm the star of the show. And the rest of humanity that manifests around me is totally concerned with judging me. Now, when you put it like that, you realize how crazy it is. And yet, do you notice how much in your mind something goes, what does he think of me? She really meant that. The way he looked at me meant that. They obviously don't like this. I'm the odd one out of the group. I'm the one who doesn't quite make it. I'm the only Jew or brown-haired person or blonde or female or male or black or whatever. I'm the odd one out. So, and it seeks to become that. So it doesn't say like we've all got toes. So we don't notice the fact that we all have toes or that we all elements, earth, air, we all suffer. We tend to notice the things that we can say create a specific, unique identity about me, and that everybody else is helping to build that. This is called the latent tendency of becoming. And then mind runs out to find all the kind of ways in which I can judge myself or imagine that other people are judging me. Yeah. And there's no evidence for that. I mean, with a bit of work, you can concoct some evidence. But you notice you don't actually need any evidence. You can work on that assumption is there. I am an identity. And that identity is conditioned. And being conditioned, as it runs out, it finds the unsatisfactory. It runs out to the conditioned realities which are unsatisfactory. I am unsatisfactory. And so the latent tendency brings certain things to mind, and then the sense of the asava establishes. I am the person who turned up late. I'm the person who has odd socks. I'm the person who doesn't know how to tie a knot. You know, it's particular pieces of data which give me a distinct, unique identity, and that is suffering. That's what happens. It runs out. It runs out and it generates this. And then you lose faith. Yeah, you lose faith. And your faith is just the, wait a minute. You cannot, in the conditioned, from conditioned data, you cannot establish a permanent identity, a lasting, coherent identity. You have a collage of impressions that select. You cannot establish an identity out of conditions. And yet, most of your life, you're trying to do exactly that. Most of your life, you're trying to create an identity out of conditions, thinking that will make you happy and settled and stable. Yeah? And that identity could be, you know, job, a career, a place to live, whatever, you know. And that will make you happy or satisfied. And it never found it, and it doesn't. But doesn't mean one shouldn't have a job or a place or whatever. It means that you lightly, you don't expect it to make you happy. You use it as a way to find your balance. How can I hold this lightly and cultivate patience and clarity and serenity and honesty and virtue with that? Well, this is the true way of bringing this unconditioned light into conditions. And with this, you know, it's like wherever you're at, you know, whether right now it's your time to do some failing, or your time to be sick, or your time to be busy, or your time to be struggling with looking after someone. Okay, this is my Dharma. This is my practice now, is to be with this set of conditions and maintain faith in the unconditioned, in the clarity, in the witnessing, and seeing, can I cultivate what needs to be cultivated in this to loosen the hold? It could be just breathing in and out. It could be cultivating loving kindness. It could be practicing patience. It could be a number of skillful means that mean the conditions of life no longer bind you into these stuck places. So we're neither successful nor unsuccessful. We're neither adequate nor inadequate. We're neither failures nor successes. We're not any of it. Because if you're any of it, you're going to suffer. And you practice then with the conditions that arise as this is exactly what's happening right now, is exactly my Dharma practice. To practice with faith, to practice with energy, to practice with mindfulness, and to bring forth qualities of wisdom and discernment into conditioned life, reality. And of course, naturally, that always breaks down into, or comes down into the ground level of how we live our lives. Right view, right speech, right action, right thought, right livelihood arises from the unconditioned. the unconditioned doesn't do anything, but the nature of the unconditioned gives us that space in which we act with dispassion and we act with a sense of freedom from doubt. This is what I do now, because this is right speech, right action, right livelihood. This is for my welfare and the welfare of others. Yeah? However small it is, however seemingly insignificant it is, this is my Dharma at this time. Cultivating like this, one is successful in the Dhamma, in the Dhamma term of it. This is one is uncrushed, unbowed, unstressed, and one brings forth Dhamma into the world, and you begin to see things differently. It dries up those latent tendencies. You don't seek to become something. You know, you don't find fault with things in the same way. Things, though, you don't. Latent tendency of ill will dries up because it's just a poison. And this is the way which practicing in this world, we find in this very world, in this conditioned world, a sense of comfort, balance, and fearlessness. So this returning to this position is always act of faith. And that's where we begin, and that's what keeps us going. So offer this for your reflection this evening or this morning, whatever time works for you.
Handamayam Dhamakataya Sadhu Karam Dadamase Sadhu 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 Anumodam.
Okay, we almost sign off for this evening. It's constant miracle that these things can happen. But that's kind of what being human's about, really. It is a miracle. And you know, it definitely, the way that miracles can occur just through good and just through people being kind and putting forth effort is one of the things that gives us faith in Dhamma practice and faith in being human. So let's remember that. One of these reasons of having these sessions is to acknowledge the global span and the communality of this inclination and this practice. So may you dwell in it and realize the fruition of that. So I'll conclude with a salutation to the Triple Gem. Devate Zoakado Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangham Namami. Okay.